This box is made from a piece of card that is 10 inches long by 5.5 inches wide. Now, I've made many pizza boxes. This is sort of like, you can make these big enough to fit your 6x6 cards in. You can make them small enough just to do little mini 3x3 cards. They're just a really simple, easy, quick box. If you need a box really quickly, this is the one. This is my go-to, I should say. So I'm just going to grab my scoreboard and we'll talk through what we need to do in terms of scoring. So on the short side, we're going to score, just move that a little bit, sorry, I've gathered up a mess already on the desk. We're going to score at 1 and at 4.5. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it round, and now with the long side along the top of the scoreboard, I'm going to score at 1, 4.5, 5.5, and 9. Okay, and that's all in inches, just so you know. I work most of the time anyway, I work in inches. Okay, and now the only bit that you need to cut, let's just pop that down, is the score lines, the small score lines that are on both sides. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. So you only need to cut up to the first score line on that long side, and then turn it round, and then again cut up on all of the score lines on that long side. And just, you're not going to touch these longer panels, it's just the short ones to create tabs, and you just need to notch them out a little bit just to make them more tab shape. So if I flip that over, you can kind of see I made them into little tabs, and you may need to cut them a little bit more when you assemble the box. So I'm just going to show you that. So if I just cut up, I stop as soon as I meet that first long horizontal score line. Okay, so I'm cutting up all the vertical score lines on the long side, just to that first horizontal line. And as I say, you can size this down, you can size it up. You just need to make sure that all of your border is the same and the middle score line is the same. So if you started with a 1/2 inch score, then all of your score lines would then need to be 1/2 inch, just so that it all obviously folds together and is symmetrical. If you wanted a deeper box, by increasing that score line. So, but it just needs to be symmetrical basically, so the same size on left and right and top and bottom, if that helps. So I'm just notching out these into tabs. So it's easier for me just to flip that one over and do that on the other side. So there you go, I've done that side. And I'm going to just do the same on the other side. On that side. So just notching out on this side now. And as I say, these pizza boxes don't have to be square, they can be rectangle. So it really depends what you're putting in them. So you could make this middle piece slimmer. Yeah. So now I've notched out, oh, I've missed one. We're just not done it as much. Okay, so now I've notched them all out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold and burnish on my score lines. And I will grab a bone folder because I don't normally use my scissors, but for this I really do want the box to be nice crisp sides because it's a pizza box. If you don't really, I mean, you can fold and burnish with your fingers, but you really want these to be nice and tight in so that these side panels don't sort of sit flapped out like this. And by really burnishing nicely on these edges, you will create a much neater box. But as I say, you can do this with your thumb, just running along really securely on there. Just keep going over it to do the same job. It's just I've got a bone folder here, so I mean, you see me every other week. I normally just use my scissors. And then do those little ones as well, those little tabs. So going along, and as I say, really burnish those down. Now, if you've scored and you find that you've got like a little lip, because sometimes whenever you score, you might end up with a little lip like here. My sideline here is going over the top of this panel. So if I just show you, there's just a little bit of a tiny lip where the score line is. So I'm just going to trim that. It's obviously just a little bit of the score line has just been left. So I'm just going to notch that away so that when I come to fold up my box, it doesn't cause me any issues with folding. That's better, I think. Yeah. Sometimes you just get that when you've cut the score line up, you've left more of the score line on one half of the card than the other, basically. Right, so just those tabs on the middle now. So I think that's all the tabs done. Now, if you're rushing ahead and you're further on than me, I just want to be very clear that when you come to make up this box, we're going to create the bottom of the box first, and then we will create the top of the box in situ over the top of the bottom of it, so that because this is more or less exactly the same size, you want to glue it in situ so that it will fit nice and snugly. Because if you just glue these tabs and then glue these tabs independently, when you come to close it, you might find that it doesn't fit together properly. So you have been warned. Obviously craft along with me doing this one, but just make sure you glue it in situ over the top of the base of the box. Okay, so that's just the pre-warning. So to create the base, I'm going to just fold in these two at this end. So if I just say, it doesn't matter, you can start from whichever end you like because they're both exactly the same, symmetrical box. So these two, I'm just going to fold in and I'm going to apply glue. So they are folded inwards and I'm putting the glue basically on that, what is the outside of that tab. I'm trying to, she says, my glue's not coming out. Let's have a look. Just give that a bit of a poke with my, that's it. So I'm putting glue there. So that, just to show you, that is actually on the outside tab, okay? So I'm going to add glue to the opposite side as well. And then I'm going to fold that inside the box, okay? So that's going inside, and I'm going to just do that on both sides. So those little tabs are now inside the box, okay? So just in there and in there. So just let that take for a second. Allow that to dry. And I use wet glue because it gives me wiggle room in case I mess up. And what we're going to do with those center, oh, I'm getting glue on them now. Sorry, glue ink. Just going to see if I can get any more of that ink off my fingers because I could just see I'm transferring it onto the box. Oh dear. Well, it's going to be a grungy vintage box anyway, she says. Okay, so exactly the same with the middle tabs. I'm going to fold them down. So I'm putting glue on what would be the outside of that tab on both sides. And then I'm going to lift it up and they will now be glued inside that base. Okay, so just holding that in place and doing exactly the same on the other side. So now we have got our box base done. So just making sure that's nice and glued securely. Okay, so that's the box. So this is your sort of last chance really to really burnish these side panels. So if you want to just do that before we do the next bit. Okay, just really give them a really firm burnish, whether it's with a tool, your finger, the edge of your scissors, whatever, but just really burnish those down so that when we close this box over, they are as neat and tight to the side of the box as what they're going to be, basically. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put glue. So lay this flat, got my base of the box here, it's all secured and made up. Got my two sides that I've just really burnished well. And then I'm going to pop this tab and this tab down now. And I'm going to add glue to the outside of those two tabs. And they are going to get glued, but as I said, I'm going to do it in situ. So I've added the glue. Now I'm going to close the box lid down. Okay, so it's over the top of the base. And then I'm going to pop those tabs in. Okay, because I want to make sure that this fits nice and neatly over my box. Okay, so and I'm just going to hold that for a minute, just in place. Okay, and then that is your pizza box, and you might just have to reaffirm that rear score line. So if you've got a circle punch, you could just take a little thumb grip out. If you've got a 1-inch circle punch, you can just sort of eyeball where the middle is, and then just take that so that you've got a little finger hold bit so you can see where it opens up. Okay, so that's your little, and that is the basis of the box. Now, to make it more robust, you can add a piece. You're going to decorate the top anyway, so that will be layered up, so that will keep it sort of firm shape. But because like I was going to put 9 Easter eggs in there, I would just say to add a layer in the base, and so we're going to get that layer out and I'll pop it in there. I would have glued that in, she said, but it's kind of, let me just get it out so I can glue it in properly. And this is just a smidge shorter than 3.5. So it's what you would say, I think about what 3 7/16 or something, but it is like 1 little 16th notch less than 3.5 inches. So if you go to 3.5 inches, you're just going to come back 1 tiny little line, which is a 16th. So, but literally you just want to take a hair's breadth off it and it will be fine. I don't usually talk in 16ths. I usually just say take a smidge off a piece of card that's 3.5 by 3.5. And as I say, I mean, depending on what you're putting in here, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that, or if you're using thicker card, because I think this card's about 250 GSM, so it just needs a little bit more weight to it, I think. So I'm just giving it that extra support really. And as I say, on the top of it, it's going to have layers. So I'm adding a piece of grey granite, a piece of the peony garden papers, which I thought looked very vintagey. So I'm going to actually go around the edge of this and just ink it a bit more, just so that it kind of, and I'm going to ink my grey piece as well, just to kind of give it that aged look. And if you wanted, you could distress the edge of your card, and you can distress your card by just using your scissors. If I just show you here, you can just actually come in and come along with your scissors, and just using the blade, you can get this kind of distressed look. Some of you may like that, some of you may just think, no, that just looks like you haven't cut it properly. So it's a kind of taste thing. But if you do distress, so I'm going to just come around and distress this one. If you do distress, you can still ink it, and you'll still get a vintage, more of a vintage look. So I'm going to just come around. Oh, I know you can get a distress, what they call a distress tool. Stampin' Up! Did used to do one years ago. So you're just literally just taking a little layer off the edge of the card. Just mind your fingers, of course, because here's me with my big massive scissors. And obviously you're creating a little bit of a mess. Okay, so that's kind of just giving it a distressed look. And then just bring that to one side. I'm just going to grab an ink, because I don't actually have grey granite, but I've got a Memento London Fog, which I think is going to be close enough. So I shall come in and I will grab my brushes again. So I'm just going to come in. So this is quite a darkish colour, but as I say, I just want to kind of give it just some colour around the edge, just to sort of add to that vintage look. Okay. So just again, you could use a sponge, you could use a dauber, whatever you have in your craft stash, just to create a little bit of a colour around the edge. And I'm going to do exactly the same with my flowered piece. So just coming in and going around. Daisy. Okay. Just distressing that. Okay. And then I shall glue that to that piece. Okay, so just gluing that in place. And if you wanted to, you could even come around and just gently colour the edge of your box. Just on that top edge, just go around and just colour that with your ink as well, just so that it all is going to tie in. I'm just going to glue this flat, I think. Yeah, I'll just glue it flat. Oh, before I glue it, I might add a little bit of lace. So I'm just going to have a look and see if any of these will, don't want anything really too much, because I've got, that's actually quite a nice sort of, I'm just looking to see what I've got in my bag, because I literally have a big bag of just sort of lacy and twine and bits like that. So my little collection over the years, actually that's quite nice. Yeah, I like that one. I'm just going to wrap a little bit around. So I might end up actually putting this on foam pads, to be fair. But I kind of like that one. So just kind of keeping with that vintage style that we're talking about. So I'm just going to, yeah, that one looks good. So I'll just get a little bit of double-sided tape. So just finding the end of it. And then just pop a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other side just to catch that ribbon. And then I should just see, just looking for my foam pads. So just, I might have to just trim a little bit off this so it's not too weighty behind. Yeah. So just pop that like that. Right. And then just getting my bag of foam pads. And unfortunately with me, it is definitely more is more with when I come to putting foam pads on stuff. I don't skimp. I tend to just cover the whole lot because I would hate to think that over time that this would just kind of end up with a soggy middle or a soggy bottom or something. So we kind of just cover the whole thing. Basically just don't skimp. Okay, and then I shall just peel those. Yeah, the thing I was talking about, sorry, before when I was just chatting to you, I was talking about doing grungy kind of flowers and ideas for that. And one way of making flowers look a bit more kind of shabby chic or grunge-like is to wet them and let them kind of break the fibers down and let them kind of dry, and they sort of turn out quite shabby chic. I don't know if the same thing would happen with using a heat tool, but we could maybe give it a go and see what they look like, just so I can give you an idea. So I'm going to pop that on there. So sorry, I'm going to stand up because I need to be kind of over the top of it to see. So that's that. And then I think I will, those little flowers that I made before actually I think might look actually quite pretty with this one, because it's a little box anyway. They actually would probably go quite well with that, I think. And I did actually want to show you another idea if you didn't have the like crochet lace idea. I'm just going to grab, sorry, reaching over, I'm going to grab a doily and I'm going to, let's just see, I will just going to come round and cut out the center basically. Like so. Okay, so you've got this long piece like this. And then let me just grab a piece of, I'm just going to grab a piece of card, just a length, just because I'm just showing you an idea. As I say, today's view is hints and tips day, really. So I just want to show you, if I get a length of double-sided sticky and just pop it along here, like so, then I'm going to create a little frill on this card using the doily. So this tape is really, I think it's just because we're in the conservatory and it's cold, so it needs to be warmed up. So what I'm going to do, just starting at, just working out my orientation here. Starting at one end, I have to make sure that I don't end up with it all getting stuck. So just starting on one end, and I'm going to go over that end to begin with, because I will end up cutting that like flush like this. But what I'm going to do, oh look, I've got another, second time I've done that, picked out more than one. So I'm just going to come along and I'm going to keep this straight as I possibly can. So I'm actually bending this round so that it is staying relatively, she says, relatively straight. And then I'm kind of scrunching as I go along. So kind of just doing a little fold maybe, coming in, pulling it down. That's all sitting nicely. Then you'll get to a point where it starts to curve again. So then just do a little fold. Okay. And then come along. And then again, you can do a little fold. Just really the folds just to keep it kind of straight, to be fair. And it will build up like a texture for you as well. So I know it isn't exactly straight, but it is reasonably straight. So come along, a little bit of a fold, just to keep it straight. Get to the end, and you've created this lovely little frill at the bottom of your piece of card. So I could then trim that down. Let's just get my trimmer, see if I can trim it. Just going to, I'm just going to cover up the tape because I don't want to get it stuck in my trimmer. But I could come in and just trim that down a little bit. It's easier to do from the other side. So just so I get it straight. Just take that off. And I've got this lovely little, oops, Daisy, just cut through that. I've got this lovely little trim edge, but then, I mean, if you imagine if that was on your box, so instead of obviously this is a bit dark for what we're using, but instead of having your little crochet bit, you've just used a little bit of a doily to build up some texture on your card. Okay, so that's just a little idea there. So you can create this basically a ribbon of doily, okay, to add a nice finish, and that could also go on the bottom of a card. So I've stuck my little box lid on here, and I'm going to pop my little flowers on as well now. I'll probably use glue dots for those so that they're secure. And you could have a sentiment on here. And I think I have got my leaf punch. See, and you could obviously punch out as well some, you know, gold or silver little leaves to pop in behind. I'll just grab my die. As you all know, I've got a box full of old dies that I keep near me when I'm crafting, just so that I can do a little bit of a rustle here every week. I'm sure in here I have got a bag of leaves, so just bear with me a second while I rummage. So I'm going to stick, wouldn't be the same if I didn't go and have a rummage, would it really? I'm going to stick a little glue dot on the bottom of that flower, and I'm going to stick this one, actually hasn't glued as well. So let me just pop another little bit. Actually, I wonder if I stuck a glue dot in there, would that secure it? Just see if that'll help. Stick that in there. Yeah, that's all right actually. And then stick a glue dot on the bottom of that. Okay. And I'm just going to leave those upside down for a second. That's a bit fiddly. Just because I'm going to just look in my little bag of leaves. So scrummage, let's have a look. So that's really pretty. Just gonna see what I've got in here that I can use. There's some lovely little gold bits. Okay, so these are just things that I've punched out and I haven't used, and so I had a bit of a clear out and found all these little bits and kind of thought that I would put them into order. So I've got like all the leaves together, all the hearts together, and that kind of thing. And when I'm card making and doing the weekly session, I kind of have a little sort of scrummage around and see if there's anything in these bags that I can use, rather than going and punching some more bits out when I've actually got a big bag of bits that I could use. So that's why I was scourging and scrummaging around. So I like this. So it's just a little bit of a green leaf. That's a die cut that I've had, and that's a punch, which is actually this one here, the leaf punch. So I'm going to glue this. So I'll probably just sit through like that. And then I might just glue. I don't want it all glued down. I want it to have a bit of dimension. So I'm just going to glue one of the leaves in place like that. And then I think I'm just poking it through where the crochet ribbon is, really, the lacy bit. Maybe that. And then, yeah, I'm just kind of working out. I don't even know if I really want that. I think that's maybe, I like the delicateness of that one. So let me just grab, because I think I've got another one of those. I just kind of like that. Yeah, I kind of like the delicateness of that, so I'm going to stick with that. So I'll do the same again with this one. Just add a little bit more glue and attach it in. And just have that built up, so it's getting a bit of dimension. And then I'm going to stick my little roses. So one on there. And remember, these were just made from the scallop punch. So if you've got a circle punch, you can do something very similar to these little roses. Or if you've got a circle dies or dies that have a scallop edge, you can do exactly what I've done here. And I'm just going to get some pearls, I think, and pop them in the center. So I'm just going to get the pearls. So let's just cut some of these, and I'm just gonna, I don't know, I might have to borrow my tweezers. See, I think just want to, that's it really, just poke that down in there so it sticks. There we go, perfect. So I'm popping a pearl in that one, and I shall just do the same on the other one. So I'm going to just poke it. Oops, a daisy. These are adhesive already, but it's just a bit fiddly. So I'm just using my little sort of pokey tool here to get those. So there I've just popped two little pearls inside those flowers. And to be fair, I actually quite like that as it is. I think less is more. I don't want to really do anything else to that. That's very pretty as it is.